What do you know about Richmond?
I know that Richmond is a neighborhood in Vancouver. There's a lot of Chinese people there.
People's Republic of Richmond.
Little bits of different foods from all over the place.
I love the diversity. I love the energy.
Can you imagine there's a city in Canada where ethnic Chinese reaches the majority of its population at 54%, and nearly 77% of its population are immigrants. It's very common to see the different diversity of Western country cities, but not this much. So you must wonder what's the life like there, and how much exactly Chinese influence does it have? Hello everyone, my name is Jim. It's one of my first time making videos. I apologize for some audios that are not very clear, but anyways, let's go for a trip to Richmond, British Columbia.
There's this mall I'm going to right now, Aberdeen Centre, which is the first large mall in Greater Vancouver area that serves Chinese Canadian community. I mean, everyone is welcomed, but I think it is a great opportunity to gather Chinese people all together to encourage them to open up their own business.
There are a lot going on in this large mall, as well as surprise. From a Chinese tea shop, Chinese mobile shop, Asian cosmetics store, anime paradise, to even a whole food court that only has Chinese restaurants. And most surprisingly, a flight training school. There are usually different events happening every day, but because of COVID, everything is cancelled. Still though, you can come across something like this.
There's a fountain in the middle of the mall, but you know what's funny? There are literally coins in the water.
Because Chinese people believe throwing coins in the water can bring them luck and happiness. Jesus, I've never seen such a thing in a shopping mall. Can you believe that there's only one bookstore in the whole Canada that collects books of all kinds in Chinese language? I'm not a big fan of reading, but being there feels like I'm in China. Don't get me wrong, I think those are perfect for dipping plates with a handle, and you can put any sauce in there. And this is literally like a 2-ounce shot glass. Perfect size. Okay, hold on. Before we continue, I want to show you the density of the bubble tea shops in Richmond. You know, Asians, especially Chinese people, love their bubble tea. It's like dessert. It's great. If you haven't had it, you gotta try it. I'm also gonna be making a video about me taking my Canadian friends to try bubble tea and then rate different bubble tea places. It's gonna be exciting. So stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button right now, right here, because I know you will. In this 100-meter little plaza, there are literally 7 bubble places squeezed in here. From the classic ones to creative, fashionable ones, you name it. And apparently there are a lot of plazas like this in Richmond. It's just a piece of iceberg. It is said that you can find the best bubble tea in your city's Chinatown, but here in Richmond, the whole city itself, it's a giant Chinatown. If you're Richmond, you want bubble tea, it's always available anytime, everywhere, anywhere. Then I started to dig into Richmond's immigration history, like why there are so many immigrants, especially ethnic Chinese here, why this little Canadian fishing town can become the most Asian city in North America. So I found there are mainly 3 waves that brought people from China into the city. From the very beginning, let's go back to the 19th century, where the Canadian Pacific Railway was first constructed. Same as the Pacific Railway down in America, lots of Chinese cheap laborers from Guangdong province were brought to North America to build the railway, and yes, this place right here, also called Canton, where has always been the trading center between China and the rest of the world throughout the history, and it also has the most population than any other provinces in China from time to time. I think that's probably why it was so easy and cheap to bring those Cantonese laborers from China at that time, because China's economy was descending all the way to the bottom valley in that stage, and people just had no choice but to leave. If you want to know the number, in 2010, Guangdong province has the population of slightly more than 100 million. And yeah, I know, it's crazy. So that's the first wave. People settled down around Vancouver and the West Coast after the railway was finished, all the way till the late 20th, when Hong Kong was decided to hand back to China from the British hand in 1997. Many Hong Kongers were afraid of the change and also saw the uncertainty of their future. They started to move to the West. This timeline can also apply to the Chinese immigration history in all Western country cities, and Richmond is just a hotspot based on its beautiful location and amazing landscapes. Okay, let's take a look of where is Hong Kong. It's right in the south of Guangdong province. Yes, the Guangdong I just talked about, the Canton, which also means they share the same culture, food, and language, Cantonese. Have you ever wondered why Cantonese has such a great influence on people in the West thinking about Chinese culture? From the language itself to the famous yamcha, I think everyone knows more or less about it. And this is all because people from this part of China moved to the West way before the rest. China is massive, and trust me, it's as diverse as Europe. Since then till today, with the economy in mainland China started to soar after the economic reform in late 20th, more and more Chinese people from mainland China started to move to Richmond and also to the West for a better education or environment. That's when Richmond's Chinese population started to boom again. As well, the city also gained a greater amount of Chinese influence since that. People from the north, east, west took their own unique Chinese culture with them and make the city even more diverse. And I think that's the most interesting part about Richmond. It's like a little shadow of China, which is the majority, but we also have other immigrants from all over the world here in Canada. The city is just so diverse and no one is special here because everyone is equal. I like to visit Richmond because as a Chinese, I can speak my own mother tongue here, and everywhere you go, there are always Chinese language service available, which is normal, and I don't feel weird being able to speak a different language other than English here in Richmond. I mean, English is not a problem to me, it just feels like home since I haven't gone back home for 2 years.
那你们来这住了多久了？
我住了还蛮久的，
还住挺久的。
我2019年来的，
啊，
现在已经10几年了。09年，2009年对，2009年，10周年了，我算是老移民了吗？
算。
But what about the locals? What about the people who don't speak Chinese at all? It's like a conflict. Take a look at this chart. This is a 2016 Richmond census. The population percentage who speak Chinese has increased largely in the past few years, but there are still many people whose first language are English or other languages.
Did you feel like you were kind of forced to learn a little Chinese in order to go around more easily?
Yeah. It's all live inside while all Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
The municipal government sooner realized that the city is growing fast, as well the Chinese influence has flooded all over the place. They also got complaints from long-term English residents that they cannot understand when they're going out. Then the governments were like, okay, it's been a problem, and we should probably hold a meeting with ethnic Chinese business community. And what about this? Let's make all the signs bilingual in both Chinese and English instead of only in Chinese, and companies should hire employees who can speak both languages as a result. At the same time, people started to accept different cultures instead of being dominated by one, which leads us to the most necessary part to build Richmond from the inside.
It's a foodie paradise.
It's just a world-class place to be.
Now, let's go eat. Richmond is a perfect place when it comes to food. You can easily find food from all over the world, which I think you can also do it in your own city. What I mean food is the underrated Chinese food. It's not just ginger beef, not orange chicken. Those are great, but you know what? I've never heard of it until I moved to Canada a few years ago. It's hard to describe Chinese food as a whole in one word, because China is so big that the food can even be various from towns to towns. There are 8 major cuisines in China which represents different unique cooking styles, flavors, and even ingredients. In between, there are smaller ones based on those major cuisines. The most famous one, I'd say, probably Cantonese cuisine can take the first place. As I mentioned earlier, those migration who first moved to the West are mostly Cantonese and Hong Kongers. It is them who first introduced Cantonese cuisine as Chinese food to us. No doubt, you can easily find authentic Cantonese restaurants here in Richmond due to its large Cantonese population. Gladly, Richmond also gives us tons of opportunities to try out Chinese food from other part of China, and thanks to the third immigration wave, which brought those mainland Chinese and of course the food.
中国大陆来的餐厅是多久才开始这种爆发的呢
10年左右吧，对
，10年
就是一下子开了很多，因为好像应该是开山大外空了之后，然后这边开始人变多了，大伙也不知道该做什么了，就自己选择开餐馆了，自己吃的，对，自己可以吃了，然后因为语言可能也不是特别干嘛，他们觉得开餐馆可能就会好一些。
对。
So we'll be filming videos about Richmond a lot lately. We've been trying Chinese food for 3 meals a day, and there's a lot out there still.
It's super cool seeing like, you know, I hadn't even like thought about all the things that you can have for like Chinese meals. It's super cool. We've gone from like kind of more sweet stuff to like actually pretty spicy stuff, especially through the meals. Chinese food being was just like ginger beef and like, I don't know, maybe like the occasional dinner thing.
Definitely for sure opens up the mind too. And
Yeah. That's something else I didn't really think about is like how much it changes throughout the regions.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's like so many more in China that you haven't really tried. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying more stuff.
Using the most China city outside of China is probably the best word to describe Richmond. There are for sure many Chinese influence around the town, and it gives you an exotic vibe than other North American cities. Even though Chinese is the majority here, but what I really see is how multiculturalism can develop so well in such a city. Like I said, no one is special here because everyone is equal, and this is the beauty of Canada. Now, our time in Richmond is almost up. The trip is over, but the adventure with me has just begun. If you'd like to see more videos about cultural differences, Chinese food adventure, or travel related videos, make sure to drop a subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching guys. See you next time.